Hey everyone, and welcome to my seventh episode of Let's Meet the Woman in the Bible. So, today I'm so excited to introduce to you someone who the Holy Spirit has allowed me to tap into her mind and really just experience what she might have felt during, her season. And this woman is none other than Sarah. So, yeah, just to paraphrase the story of Sarah. So, Sarah is the wife of Abraham, and she was promised the Lord promised that she would be the mother of all nations, because that was what God had prophesied over, or that was the promise that God gave Abraham. God said that Abraham would be the father of all nations. So given the fact that she is his wife, she would be the mother of all nations. And God promised her that she was going to have a son. But Sarah was barren for a very, very, very long time. She only gave birth to her son when she was 90 years old. So before then, she tried to take matters into her own hands, where she she convinced her husband to sleep with her maidservant Hagar. So those of you who have been following me, you will know that I shared a video about Hagar called Getting to Know Hagar episode 5. So please do, if you haven't checked it out, please do check it out in my previous videos. So yeah, just going back to Sarah, you know she took matters, as I said, she took matters into her own hands, and she convinced her husband to sleep with Hagar. And Hagar gave birth to her son called Ishmael. And even though Hagar just did what Sarah asked, you know Sarah became very bitter and very resentful towards Hagar. And um, you would ask yourself, but why? Because this woman was just being obedient, and yet you turned around and you were so nasty towards her. Why is it? Yet you were also the one that was in the wrong. You were impatient. You didn't follow through. You didn't wait upon the Lord. Yet because of your disobedience, you turned out to be so nasty. And you would ask yourself, but why? What is it? And a lot of the times, I've heard sermons where preachers would share, when they speak about Sarah, they speak specifically about the fact that how we should hold on. When God gives us a promise, when God speaks a word over our lives, we should be patient, we should be obedient, and not take matters into our own hands. Because when we do that, that's where things get messed up, and we tend to go on the wrong track. And that's generally the story, or generally the message that we hear related to Sarah. But I wanted to understand, I wanted to understand her thinking. I wanted to understand her mind. I wanted to understand, what she was going through, what she was experiencing, what led her to actually do what she did, and to treat Hagar the way she did, and what led her to that impatience. And God took me back to Genesis 12 verse 10 to 20, where the Bible tells us that um, in the land where Abraham and Sarah were from, that land was experiencing extreme famine. So they left their land to go to Egypt. And when they arrived in Egypt, Abraham, before he was Abraham, he was first Abram. He then told his wife, who was initially first Sarai, he told her that because of her beauty, you know, um, they might take her for themselves, the Egyptians, and they would kill him. So he suggested that when they arrive there, they will say that they are brother and sister, and that Pharaoh can have Sarai for himself and spare his life. And that is exactly what happened. Pharaoh saw of her beauty, and he took her as one of his wives. And in return, they blessed Abram, with livestock. They blessed him, they blessed him, and he became a wealthy man. But God didn't like that, so he sent disease into Pharaoh's palace. And then Pharaoh released, when Pharaoh approached Abraham. He said, "But why didn't you tell me this was his wife?" And then he sent Abraham and Sarai, off and sent them out of Egypt. So, during that whole process, I don't think that Sarah was actually happy, with it. I mean, she made a covenant with her husband, and yet it was so easy for him to say, you know what, just pretend like you were my sister. And for me, that didn't display a sacrificial love. That was like, okay, you know what, just do this so that I could be saved. He didn't offer of himself. It was like, you just go and do what you need to do, even if it means that Pharaoh wants to sleep with you, like just go. And for me, that was like, that is some form of abuse. Like, you didn't, and that must have um caused or planted some sort of insecurity within Sarah. Like, it's so easy for you to to just not acknowledge me as your wife in front of people, where you know when you make your vow with your husband, it should be like for better or for worse, for sickness or in health. It should be like for through the tough and the bad and the good times and the bad times and the whatever. You that should be a covenant between the two of you, where it's like, this is my ride or die, this is my husband, this is my wife, like whatever, we'll stick it out together. And I think that she might have felt like she wasn't good enough because he didn't want to acknowledge her as his wife. And also the fact that she was barren, also I think that also played a role in her feeling not worthy, in her feeling like she's not good enough. So given the fact that she wanted to feel, that affirmation, or she wanted to receive or hear that affirmation from her husband, from a community, or even from herself, you know I think that is what caused her to then rush the promises that God had for her. Sometimes I just to speak about a short experience that I went through, is that for a very long time I wasn't working, and it affected my confidence, and it made me feel not as worthy. It made me feel like an outcast, because it was like, yo, I studied for so long, but now I'm just struggling to get a job. And then I had this job interview lined up, and I thought, okay, this must be from God. But I had two voices. I had my own voice saying this must be from God, and I had another voice saying that you just need to wait, this is not your job. But because of my impatience, because of my need to want to feel good, my need to want to hide my insecurity, I went for this interview, and I had a horrible, horrible, horrible experience. And I sat there thinking, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna grin it and bear it, and I'm gonna take this job. But inside of me, I heard this voice saying, "This is not for you. This is not for you. Don't be disobedient." And for me, that just that that just real I just realized at that point that, okay, I'm not going to take this job because of my insecurity, but I'm gonna go for what God has in mind for me. And that is why I relate so to Sarah. I think that her insecurities and her shame and her self-doubt and her lack of confidence, it must have clouded her judgment to such an extent where she just wanted to feel worthy. She just wanted to feel good enough. That is why she tried to take things in her own hands, and she was disobedient. She didn't follow the instructions of God. She didn't wait upon the Lord. She leaned on her own understanding instead of trusting completely in God. And that was the mistake that she had to make, and unfortunately she had to face the consequences of that mistake. But even though she made that mistake, God was still so gracious towards her. He still covered her mistake, and he still blessed her with the promise that he gave her with, and he still gave her a child. Even though, the child came when she was 90 years old, he still fulfilled his promises towards her. He still kept the destiny that he had for her, and that destiny was that she would be the mother of all nations, and that is who we know her to be. So I just want to encourage you today that even though you make a mistake, even though you face challenges because of things that happened in your past, because of the insecurities that you deal with from your past, because of the hurt and the pain that you experienced in your past, you know, even though you made mistakes because of that, even though you have all the self-doubt because of things like that, and you tend to be impatient with God, you tend to do things on your own accord and not according to the will of God. God is still gracious. All he needs you to do is just to acknowledge your ways and to repent from it, and to get yourself back in alignment with God, to just reconnect with God, and allow him to redirect you into the pathway and the plans that he has for you. His grace is sufficient, and his grace will cover you no matter what you have done. People tend to say that, yeah, God will take his promises away from you if you don't do what he says, or he'll take your destiny away. For me, I learned through Sarah's story that God won't take your destiny and your purpose away from you, because he created you for that destiny. He created you for that purpose. Yes, if you make a mistake, he already knows it, and he will work things out according to your good, and his grace will cover that mistake. Yes, you make a mistake. Yes, you will face the consequences, but his love and his mercy is always there for you. You just need to surrender to his love. You just need to surrender to his grace. You just need to surrender to his mercy, and just get back into alignment with him, and allow him to redirect your pathway, so that he can guide you still back into the plans and the purpose that he has for you. So yeah, I was really touched by Sarah's story. She gave me that hope to understand and realize that despite my mistakes, despite my past hurts, God still has a plan and a purpose for me. So I want you to know that just as God has a plan and a purpose for me, he's got a plan and a purpose for you. So with all that said, please like, share, subscribe. If you want to bless your friend, bless a sister, bless a mother, bless an aunt, do that and share this video with them. If you know somebody who's feeling condemned because of the mistakes that they made, please just share this message with them, and give them that sense of hope, that and that knowledge of knowing that God is still in control. He's still God, and he still has a plan and a purpose for your life. So yeah, I'll check you guys soon with my next video, and I hope you guys are blessed. Love you all. Bye.